Something happened last night that may sound strange at first, almost like the opening scene of a movie you were never supposed to see. Your soulmate was on a dinner date with the police last night. Before you misunderstand what that means, stay with me. This is not necessarily about trouble, arrest, danger, or anything you should immediately fear. In fact, the surprising part of this story is exactly why this message found its way to you. Something unexpected happened around your soulmate last night. Something that brought attention to them, placed them in a situation they did not anticipate, and revealed something about their character that may eventually matter to you. There are moments in life when ordinary plans suddenly become extraordinary. A simple dinner can become a conversation that changes someone's perspective. A chance encounter can become a reminder of something deeply personal. A person who thought they were simply going to sit down, eat, talk, and go home can suddenly find themselves answering questions, explaining circumstances, or listening to someone in uniform say words they never expected to hear. And last night was one of those moments. Your soulmate may have gone into the evening expecting nothing more than a normal dinner. They may have been thinking about work, family, responsibilities, money, plans, relationships, or even you without fully realizing why you were on their mind, but something shifted. The evening took an unexpected turn, and the police became part of the story. The strange part is that this encounter may have had less to do with punishment and more to do with protection, timing, truth, and a situation that needed to be handled carefully. There is something you need to understand about the person connected to your future. They are not living a perfectly predictable life right now. They may appear calm on the outside while carrying questions internally. They may laugh with people while secretly wondering whether their life is heading in the direction they once imagined. They may have responsibilities they do not talk about. They may have made decisions they are still processing. And they may have been trying to convince themselves that they are completely fine when, deep down, they know something is missing. That missing piece may be emotional. It may be purpose. It may be certainty. It may be the feeling that someone truly understands them, and that is where your connection becomes important. You may not have met yet, or you may already know each other. Or perhaps you have crossed paths without understanding the significance of that moment. Sometimes the person who becomes important later begins as a stranger. Sometimes they are already somewhere in your world, quietly existing at the edge of your awareness. Sometimes you have spoken before but never had the right circumstances. Sometimes the timing has simply refused to cooperate, and sometimes two people need to experience completely different chapters before they are ready to recognize what they have been searching for. Last night may have been one of those chapters for your soulmate. Something happened during that dinner that forced them to slow down. It may have been an interruption, a conversation, an unexpected question, a situation involving another person, a misunderstanding, a safety concern, or simply an unusual encounter that required police involvement. Whatever the exact circumstance, the important part is what happened emotionally afterward, because sometimes the event itself is not the message. The reaction is, your soulmate may have walked away from that experience thinking about their life differently. They may have realized how quickly circumstances can change. They may have thought about the people they love. They may have thought about the people they have lost. They may have thought about the kind of relationship they actually want. They may have realized that they have spent too much time pretending they do not need anyone. And perhaps, somewhere inside that realization, there was a thought about you, not necessarily your name, not necessarily a clear image, maybe only a feeling, a quiet sense that there is someone they have not met yet, someone they hope exists. Someone they want to come home to, someone with whom they can finally stop performing and simply be themselves. That realization can be powerful, because there is a difference between wanting attention and wanting connection. Your soulmate is not necessarily searching for someone who simply makes their life exciting. They may be searching for someone who makes their life feel honest, someone they can trust. Someone who does not require them to pretend, someone who can sit beside them during silence without making the silence uncomfortable, someone who can laugh with them during ordinary moments, someone who can listen when words become difficult, someone who does not disappear when life becomes complicated. And perhaps most importantly, someone who understands that love is not just about dramatic moments. Love is also about consistency. It is about showing up. It is about choosing each other on ordinary days. It is about being patient. It is about communicating. It is about building something real rather than chasing an illusion. Last night's unexpected encounter may have reminded your soulmate of that. The police may have been involved, but the deeper story may be about accountability and clarity. Sometimes life places a person in front of authority because they need to confront something, not necessarily because they have done something terrible, sometimes because a situation requires truth. And truth has a strange way of changing people. Maybe your soulmate has been avoiding a conversation. Maybe they have been holding on to a situation that should have ended. Maybe they have been allowing someone else's expectations to control their decisions. Maybe they have been afraid to admit what they really want. Maybe they have been staying in a situation simply because leaving felt uncomfortable. Maybe they have been telling themselves that they have plenty of time, then suddenly, one unexpected night reminds them that time is not something we can take for granted. That realization can make someone look at love differently. It can make them wonder who they want beside them when life becomes unpredictable. And that question may lead them closer to you. There is something else about this story that you should notice. The phrase, dinner date, matters. Dinner is ordinary. It is intimate without necessarily being romantic. It is a place where people talk. It is where conversations stretch beyond small talk. It is where people sometimes reveal what they have been hiding. And sometimes, when the unexpected happens, the setting makes everything feel even more surreal. Imagine sitting across from someone, expecting a normal evening, and suddenly finding yourself involved in a completely different situation. You might wonder afterward, why did this happen? Why tonight? Why here? Why did I have to meet these particular people? Why did this conversation happen? What am I supposed to learn from it? Your soulmate may be asking some of those questions now. And one answer may be that the experience was meant to interrupt their routine, not because every strange event is a sign, not because every coincidence has a hidden supernatural explanation. but because life-changing realizations often begin when our normal routine is disrupted, we become more honest when we are surprised. We become more aware when something forces us to pause. We become more reflective when an ordinary night suddenly becomes memorable. Your soulmate may now be thinking about what matters. And love may be one of those things. They may be thinking about the kind of person they want beside them. They may be thinking about whether they have been emotionally available. They may be thinking about whether they have been too guarded. They may be thinking about whether fear has prevented them from taking a chance. They may be thinking about someone from their past. They may even be thinking about someone they have not met yet. That is where you enter this story. You represent possibility, not fantasy, not perfection, possibility. The possibility that love can feel safe without becoming boring. The possibility that passion can exist alongside respect. The possibility that two people can disagree without destroying one another. The possibility that someone can see your flaws and still choose to understand you. The possibility that you do not have to earn love by becoming someone else. And perhaps your soulmate is learning the same lesson. Maybe they have been through relationships where they felt misunderstood. Maybe they trusted the wrong person. Maybe they were hurt. Maybe they gave more than they received. Maybe they learned to keep their heart behind a locked door. That door may have been useful once, but it cannot remain locked forever if they want genuine intimacy. Something about last night may have reminded them of that. It may have reminded them that life is unpredictable, that plans can change, that people can surprise you, that certainty is often an illusion, and that if you are going to give your heart to someone, you want to give it to a person who will treat it with care. Your soulmate may not be ready to say all of this aloud. They may not even understand it completely yet, but emotional changes often happen before conscious understanding. A person can feel different before they know why. They can become more open before they realize they are opening. They can start making different choices before they can explain the reason. That may be happening now. Maybe they are becoming less interested in shallow conversations. Maybe they are less willing to entertain people who waste their time. Maybe they are starting to value peace. Maybe they are beginning to understand that attraction is not enough. Maybe they want something deeper. And when someone reaches that stage, they become more prepared for a meaningful relationship. That does not mean everything will suddenly happen overnight. Real life does not always work that way. A strange dinner does not magically create a soulmate connection. A police encounter does not guarantee a romantic destiny, but a surprising event can become a turning point. It can make someone examine their choices, and sometimes a change in choices is what eventually creates the circumstances for two people to meet. So if you have been wondering why your romantic life has felt delayed, complicated, or strangely quiet, perhaps the answer is not that you are being forgotten. Perhaps the answer is that timing matters. You cannot force two lives to intersect before both people are ready for the meeting to mean something. Your soulmate may be working through lessons you cannot see. You may be working through lessons they cannot see. Both of you may be becoming stronger, more mature, more honest, more selective, more capable of recognizing something real when it arrives. There is another surprising detail about last night. Your soulmate may have discovered something about themselves. Maybe they realized they are more protective than they thought. Maybe they realized they care deeply about fairness. Maybe they realized they hate seeing someone treated unfairly. Maybe they realized they want a peaceful life more than an exciting one. Maybe they realized they want someone who can understand their complicated side. Maybe they realized that beneath all their confidence, they still want tenderness. People often discover their deepest needs when circumstances become uncomfortable. A person can spend years saying they do not need anyone. Then one difficult evening can make them realize they want someone they can call, not someone to rescue them, someone to share life with. There is a difference. Healthy love is not about one person saving the other. It is about two people choosing to support each other while remaining whole individuals. That is the kind of connection worth waiting for, and perhaps that is why this story is finding you now. Not to make you believe that every detail is predetermined, but to encourage you to stay open to meaningful possibilities. Do not let one disappointing relationship convince you that all relationships will disappoint you. Do not let one rejection convince you that you are unlovable. Do not let a period of loneliness convince you that loneliness is your permanent future. Life changes, people change, circumstances change. Sometimes the person you become is completely different from the person who once accepted less than they deserved. Your soulmate may be going through that transformation too. Perhaps they have finally realized that love should not feel like a constant guessing game. They may be tired of mixed signals, tired of relationships where they never know where they stand, tired of people who only appear when it is convenient, tired of emotional games, tired of being expected to give without receiving. They may want clarity now. They may want honesty. They may want someone who says what they mean. And that may be one of the qualities that eventually draws them toward you, because the strongest connections are often built on simple things: a sincere conversation, a shared laugh, a thoughtful question, a moment of vulnerability, a decision to stay and listen. A willingness to apologize, a willingness to grow. None of these things sound dramatic, but they are the foundation of lasting love. The title of this message may have caught your attention because it sounds mysterious. Your soulmate was on a dinner date with the police last night. You may have wondered what that could possibly mean. And perhaps the real surprise is that the police were not the most important part of the evening. The important part was the realization that came afterward. Sometimes the universe of our lives does not give us answers directly. It gives us moments. We decide what they mean. We learn from them. We grow. And we continue moving forward. Your soulmate may be doing exactly that. They may be sitting somewhere tonight thinking about yesterday. Maybe they are replaying the conversation. Maybe they are remembering a particular sentence. Maybe they are wondering how something so unexpected happened. Maybe they are smiling at the absurdity of it. Maybe they are frustrated. Maybe they are relieved. Maybe they are simply grateful that everything ended safely. But somewhere beneath those emotions may be a deeper thought: I don't want to keep living on autopilot. That thought matters, because when someone stops living on autopilot, they start making intentional decisions. They start asking, what do I really want? Who do I really trust? What kind of relationship do I want? What kind of person do I want to become? What am I willing to change? What am I no longer willing to accept? Those questions can completely change someone's future, and love often arrives when a person becomes capable of answering them honestly. Maybe you are asking similar questions. Maybe you have reached a point where you no longer want temporary connections. Maybe you want something genuine. Maybe you want a person who can be your partner and your friend, someone who can make you laugh when you are stressed, someone who can challenge you without humiliating you, someone who can celebrate your success without feeling threatened. Someone who can sit with you when you are having a difficult day, someone who does not make you question your value, someone who respects your boundaries, someone who communicates instead of disappearing, someone who knows that love is a choice made repeatedly through actions. That person may exist, but you do not need to chase them. You do not need to force a connection. You do not need to interpret every stranger as the one. Instead, keep becoming the person who can recognize healthy love when it appears. Pay attention to how people treat others. Pay attention to consistency. Pay attention to whether someone's actions match their words. Pay attention to how you feel around them. Do you feel respected? Can you be yourself? Can you disagree safely? Can you speak honestly? Can you maintain your own life and friendships? Can you trust them? These questions matter far more than dramatic signs. And if your soulmate is becoming more emotionally mature, they may be asking themselves the same questions. Last night's event may have reminded them that people are unpredictable. But perhaps it also reminded them that character matters. When circumstances become uncomfortable, you see how people behave. You see who stays calm. You see who tells the truth. You see who helps. You see who panics. You see who blames others. You see who takes responsibility. Those moments reveal character more clearly than any romantic dinner ever could. Maybe your soulmate witnessed something like that. Maybe they learned something about someone they thought they knew. Maybe they discovered that a person they trusted was not as trustworthy as they believed. Or perhaps they discovered the opposite. Perhaps someone unexpectedly showed kindness. Perhaps a stranger helped. Perhaps an officer treated them with patience. Perhaps someone defended them. Perhaps someone listened. These experiences can stay with a person, and when they return home, they may start thinking about the people who have shown them genuine kindness throughout their lives. They may think about family, friends, mentors, people they lost, people they pushed away, and perhaps they begin wondering about the person they will eventually build a future with. That person could be you. But there is no need to rush the story. Your connection does not become more valuable because you force it to happen sooner. Some things need time. The best relationships are not built from urgency. They are built from mutual readiness. So if you are currently single, do not assume something is wrong with you. If you have been waiting, do not assume the waiting has been meaningless. If your past relationship ended, do not assume the ending means you failed. Sometimes endings create space. Sometimes distance creates clarity. Sometimes being alone teaches you what you will no longer tolerate. Sometimes heartbreak teaches you how to love yourself more honestly. and sometimes two people need to grow separately before they can grow together. Your soulmate may be learning lessons right now that will eventually make them a better partner. Maybe they are learning patience. Maybe they are learning communication. Maybe they are learning financial responsibility. Maybe they are learning how to set boundaries. Maybe they are learning how to stop repeating family patterns. Maybe they are learning how to apologize. Maybe they are learning that being strong does not mean being emotionally unavailable. Maybe they are learning that asking for help is not weakness. Maybe they are learning that love is not control. These are important lessons, and perhaps you are learning your own. This is why the idea of a soulmate should not be about waiting passively for someone to arrive and complete you. You are already a whole person. A healthy partner does not complete your identity. They complement your life. They add companionship, affection, shared experiences, and growth. You still remain yourself. Your dreams remain yours. Your friendships remain yours. Your boundaries remain yours. Your future remains something you actively build. A meaningful relationship is a partnership between two complete individuals. Perhaps your soulmate is discovering that now. Maybe last night's strange dinner was simply the event that made them stop and think, and maybe that thought will influence their